Although at that stage it was not treated as a murder inquiry.
But on the Wednesday, 4 days after Annie Davies' blood-spattered body was found lying behind her front door, police delivered some devastating news.
A detective inspector arrived and told the family that my mother had broken her jaw on a surface in the kitchen, had walked down the stairs in an attempt to get help and collapsed and died at the bottom of the stairs.
Despite police insistence that the death was a tragic accident, rumours spread like wildfire around Erskine that Annie had met a more sinister end. The news caused fear and alarm among her close circle of friends. 2 months after the discovery of Annie Davies' body, the post-mortem report was released. It concluded that though she was in good health for her age, she suffered from the eye disease glaucoma and had difficulty adjusting to new bifocal spectacles. This could possibly have been a factor had she fallen. The autopsy revealed Annie had sustained severe injuries, mainly to the left-hand side of her face, including a smashed cheekbone and broken jaw. There were also minor bruises to her spine. The pathologist ruled Annie had choked to death on her dentures due to blunt force trauma to the face. The report concluded that the overall findings could be consistent with Annie having fallen down the stairs. However, it stated that some form of assault could not be ruled out. The findings appear to back up the official police position that Annie's death was an accident.
The Strathclyde police and the Davies family clashed from very early on in the investigation into their mother's death, and I could quite understand exactly why, because we also felt that procedures had not been followed. We couldn't understand why the police had written this off as an accidental death when there were so many markers that pointed to it not being the case.
In December 2000, 2.5 years after Annie's body was discovered, the campaign to prove she was murdered received a massive boost. And it came from an unexpected source, an expert thousands of miles away across the Atlantic. The discovery of 83-year-old Annie Davies' body behind the door of her Erskine flat had caused a bitter rift between Annie's family and Strathclyde police. From the outset, detectives maintained she died after falling down the stairs and choking on her false teeth. Her family insisted she'd been brutally battered before being robbed. The post-mortem report appeared to back up the police position, though it stated that foul play could not be ruled out. Brian Davies appealed for help over the internet for a second opinion. His plea was spotted by Dr. Edward Friedlander, head of pathology at Kansas City University in Missouri, America. He agreed to study post-mortem reports and extensive case notes.
Here's the diagram that was prepared of her skull. Here we have the cheekbone. It's fractured in 6 places. In addition, this portion of the jawbone has been fractured. So we have 7 separate fractures in one area. Now, if you look closely at this pattern, you may recognize this because this is the same pattern as is produced by a piece of gravel when it hits your windshield. It's called the spiderweb pattern. This is very, very familiar to pathologists. It represents a point impact. Here we have the cheekbone, and here's the ordinary position, unless your mouth is wide open, of the portion of the jawbone that was fractured. The cheekbone is broken in the spiderweb pattern. The jawbone is probably broken by this fragment of cheekbone being pushed in. So we have a tremendous force being applied to this area. I'm calling this a homicide because I see a brutal blow to the face that resulted in somebody's death, albeit indirectly from swallowing the denture plate.
Dr. Friedlander's conclusions gave the family's campaign fresh momentum. The regional procurator fiscal ruled the death highly suspicious and ordered detectives to reinvestigate. In May 2001, 3 years after the discovery of Annie's body, a new inquiry was launched. By this stage, one of the pathologists who'd drawn up the original autopsy report was also expressing grave misgivings about the way the case was handled. it appeared that a major breakthrough was just around the corner. But once again, the Davies family hopes were to be cruelly dashed.
At the end of that inquiry, we were again invited into the Fiscal's office to be appraised of the inquiry, and the conclusion of that inquiry was that she had had a heart attack at the top of the stairs, which caused her to fall down the stairs. Back to square one.
I think the absence of any involvement of any third party during all these investigations, no witnesses have been traced that have witnessed anybody coming to or from the house. There's nothing in the Mrs. Davies' background that would suggest that, you know, she would die in such circumstances as this, or that she would be murdered in these circumstances. The crime patterns and crime trends in that area that were on the go at the time didn't indicate that there was anybody preying on the old people. So a lot of these things come into account when you're looking to try and establish a motive or try and establish a reason for a death.
Officially, Annie Davies' death remained highly suspicious, though police maintained there was no evidence to suggest she was murdered. Lesser men might have been tempted to throw in the towel at this stage, but not Brian Davies. In the spring of 2002, he was put in touch with retired Strathclyde police detective Les Brown. He carried out his own independent investigation. When he learned of the extent of Annie's injuries and how her glasses had been found jamming open the front door of her flat, he too was convinced she'd been murdered.
I've never been in any doubt since that very first meeting. This woman was hit with this door, and it's the only explanation for the specs being in the position that they were. We even went back down to the house where the death had occurred with her specs, her original specs, and we carried out an experiment.
We folded, dropped